Oh, there's some lungfish in there, look. Oh, yeah.
You see that big yellow one? Why?
Using a variety of aquariums, audiovisual, and interactive displays, we will take you on a journey through the seas of the past and into the future of deep ocean research, exploring as we do the diversity of these ocean habitats. We will travel from equator to pole, and from the vibrant color of shallow tropical marine to the strange alien world of the twilight zone.
So you got some interactive screens. Tells you a bit about the world. The solar system. Tells you a bit about some fish as well.
Of your money, I want to take a picture in the photo booth. How much? I don't know. Yeah, just spend 10 on a picture for yourself. It's best to come back with a back. It's probably what I want.
These two going to take fish. Are they going to have one? Or is it maybe? Maybe? No? No, says I don't want that one. No? No? I don't want none.
Trying to get up there. No, well, I'm in the front, and my neighbours, both sides,
I've got, well, luckily, I've got new neighbours across the road, and they're lovely. I've got a new next door neighbour. They don't do anything, and it's such a lovely road. And I'm in the middle of one either side, they don't do anything, and it's such a shame.
Yep.
They go out for work Sunday morning, so you don't see that. And the new people coming next to me one side, they're Indian family, they work all the hours. I don't get a job there sometimes, really.
I'm taking bloody pictures anyway.
See, maybe recording it.
Welcome to the Deep, or more specifically, of course, the Penguins of Great Beacon exhibit. My name's Billy, I'm a member of the guiding team here, and I'm going to take a couple of minutes on the microphone to basically explain a little bit of what we're trying to achieve in here, and of course I'm going to introduce you guys to our lovely penguins. So first things first then guys, what is actually occurring in there? The Penguins of Grytviken exhibit, this is a 1-to-1 scale replica of an abandoned whaling station down in South Georgia, so just north of the Antarctic Circle, and it is of course kept in there at about between 9 and 11 degrees Celsius depending on the season. Now obviously we are entering the winter period, so it is cooling down a little bit in there, so it's probably at about 9 degrees Celsius right now. Now, being a sub-Antarctic species, obviously it's not quite the freezing conditions in there that you might expect to see of something like an emperor or king penguin. And that's because the penguins we have in here are Gentoo penguins. So they are the third largest species of penguin on the planet, believe it or not. But despite this, they are actually the fastest species of penguin in water. These little guys can reach speeds of up to 23 miles per hour in water, which, in my opinion, for a bird that barely reaches up to your kneecap, is very, very impressive. However, they've got one more ability that, in my opinion, is even more impressive than that speed in the water, and it's their ability to dive down in search of food. Now, usually, Gentoo penguins will not dive any deeper than the top 10 metres of the water. This is where they can get the majority of the food that they need, whether it be krill, other types of small crustaceans like shrimps, white fish like sprat, things like that, or any basically little shellfish and stuff that they can find in the cobbles. If, however, conditions are really tough, so let's say they've had a really bad winter or something, or human trawlers have been through the area and have robbed them of their food source, Gentoo penguins have been recorded diving down up to 150 metres underwater on a single breath. Now, to give you a little bit of a perspective on how deep that actually is, the Endless Ocean exhibit, so that massive exhibit with the sharks, sawfish and stingrays in it, is only 10 metres deep. So if you imagine 15 of those tanks stacked on top of one another, that's how deep these little penguins can dive in search of food if they absolutely need to. Now, obviously, they don't need to do that here at the deep. We hand feed them the majority of their food, and there's an important reason for this, guys. Keeping birds in captivity, it's not as easy as it may seem, and I'm sure you guys are well aware of this. We have to make sure that we record everything that's going on in this exhibit so the entire Aquaris team have a great picture of how each individual penguin is doing. So when we go in there to feed the animals, obviously they'll wear some lovely warm clothing as it's very cold in there, and you'll see in one hand the aquarist will have a waterproof clipboard, and in the other hand he'll have his bucket of feed. What he'll do is literally record down every single bit that each individual penguin eats. So let's say, for example, Kyla eats 10 sprat and 15 krill. That means she's very well fed, she's happy, she's eating her food. But then let's say he goes to feed Viola and she's just turning her nose up at every bit of food available. Obviously, the penguin keeper will then be able to note that down and we'll be able to look into this issue and maybe see why one of those animals is off their food or why one of them's eating a lot more than usual. Now, when it does come to feeding the penguins, as I just said, they are hand-fed and they swallow their prey whole. Being birds, they haven't got the ability to chew like those mammals have. They can just move their beaks up and down. But they have a special adaptation to help them out with this. I don't know if anybody's ever seen inside the mouth of a penguin before, but it is one of the most horrifying sights in the animal kingdom. All inside of their mouth and all the way down their throat are backwards facing spines known as papillae that help to trap the food down there and prevent it from either crawling or swimming back out. Turtles have this as well, believe it or not. It helps them eat jellyfish, obviously very, very slippery prey that could just slide back out of there. So if you get a chance, have a look on Google at the inside of a penguin's throat or a turtle's throat, and you will see they're not quite as cute as they appear. It looks like something out of Stranger Things. Now, I'm going to move on from feeding the penguins then, and let's talk about the reason we actually have these guys here. They're not our pets, they're not just here because they look cute, they're part of a conservation and breeding program. Gentoo penguins out in the wild, I'm not sure if we can see any in here at the minute. I think, well, now at the end of the breeding season, it doesn't really happen, but they make very, very simple nests. Gentoo penguins are sociable animals, and they use the stones in the exhibit to present to one another. A male and a female will pair up, and they will present stones to one another. If the partner likes the stone they've been presented, the two penguins will then bow at each other and will add those pebbles to their nest. Now, it is absolutely adorable to watch. It's brilliant because they make these lovely rock nests, but there's an issue, guys. For millions of years, these penguins have lived without issue, building their rocky nests on the floor because there's no land predators in South Georgia where they're from. The issue is, guys, the penguins obviously then have no incentive to help defend their nests against land predators. So when mankind has expanded to these areas, we've brought dogs with us, we've brought cats with us, and worst of all, we've brought rats with us. Rats, dogs and cats absolutely decimate penguin nests out in the wild, unfortunately. They take their chicks, they take their eggs, and these little guys have got no way of dealing with these issues out in the wild. So it is unfortunately due to mankind overfishing their areas, polluting their areas, and damaging their nests through invasive species that these animals are now struggling. As I say though, it's not all doom and gloom. That is why we have these amazing birds here at the Deep. They're part of a conservation and breeding program, so every year we can monitor the birds and select which ones we would like to breed to produce a chick from. Now, we obviously don't just pick the cutest ones, we don't just get the ones that we like the most to have chicks. We base it on that animal's health and their genes. We make sure different birds each year are giving birth to chicks to keep the gene pools of these species as diverse as possible. So then, when we're switching out our chicks with other zoos and aquariums birds, we're once again diversifying those gene pools and keeping this species as genetically diverse and therefore healthy as possible. Now, unfortunately, it hasn't yet been completed, but fingers crossed, in a few years, we will be able to help get Gentoo penguin chicks that have been raised here at the Deep back out into the wild, supporting those colonies and boosting their natural populations. Now, I'm going to move on from talking about breeding these animals, as we are obviously now at the end of the breeding season. Unfortunately, it's quite hard to see any of that activity going on in there. But we have got some of the penguins in the water, so I'm going to talk about some of the other adaptations that help these marine animals survive. Now, if we have a look, I can't tell which one that is, but there is one of the penguins just swimming around in the water at the minute. Take a look at when she or he pops their head under the water and pops it back out. The water literally just beads straight off of them. Like when you've waxed your car or cleaned your car and it rains, that water just comes straight off of them because of their waterproof layer. But penguins aren't just born with that waterproof layer. Their feathers don't just pop out of their body perfectly waterproof like a wetsuit. They've got to put in a little bit of work for it. And we can see one doing it right behind us over there, guys. That penguin is pruning its feathers, maintaining that waterproof layer. They have, just above their tail, and if you look very carefully, you might be able to see it when they're using it, a small gland that secretes a kind of oil. Now, this oil, it smells basically just like when you're working on a bike chain or something like that, and you get that oily sort of smell on your hands. That's exactly what a penguin smells like. So what they do is use their beak to rub on this gland, gather that oil on their beak, before rubbing it all over their body and covering themselves in that nice, oily, waterproof layer. So, if you do see any of the penguins looking like they're being a bit rude, sticking their head up their backside, don't worry guys, what they're doing is getting that oil and giving themselves a lovely waterproof sheen. Now, one more adaptation then guys that I'd like to talk about is one that really cements these animals as a marine species. Obviously, they're birds, they do spend quite a fair bit of time walking around on the land, but they spend about 75% of their time in the water. Now, look at them stood up on the land at the minute. They look like they're wearing a sort of funny tuxedo, almost like they're wearing a suit with that black and white patterning, and the same goes behind me there for every single penguin species we have on our planet. This is actually an important adaptation to help them stay hidden in the water from predators and also help them remain hidden from their prey. It's known as counter shading, and it's basically as simple as having a white belly and a black back. Obviously, when they're stood up, they look like they're wearing suits, but when they're in that water there, imagine you're a bird of prey or something flying over it, and you look down at the penguin, you're going to see that black back hiding it against the darkness of the water below it. And the same goes if you're a killer whale or something swimming underneath a penguin, you roll over and look up, you're going to see that penguin's white belly against the bright sky above it, helping it once again to stay hidden. So remember that, guys, and as you're walking around the deep for the rest of the day, keep an eye on all of the other marine animals. I bet you'll be able to spot a couple of them that have that counter shading as well to help them stay hidden.
You don't catch money while you're young, no?
And there's a lovely big red purple stuff at the top of the rock.
Some big fish on here. Look.
He'll have to explain to her Sandra if she comes there, she's got remember where to walk. Haven't you?
Yep.
Not much seating.
Nope.
Well enough. It's up quality now. You have to wipe it clean. Take the pudding in the dropper. Like the other thing you got.
Go on.
So this is where all the water system is for the whole of the aquarium, I think.
You want to see the stairs, stay to the right.